Jimmy. Jimmy. James, son!
Welcome back to another episode of the Jim's channel. This is going to be part 2 of resurrecting the crusty old Beetle. So today we're working on brakes. I need to get that brake master cylinder out of there, and I also need to take some samples of brake line and fuel line, etc. to buy new hoses, because the hoses on this thing are just cracked to nothing. We have a tarp down. I know we're going ultra fancy today. The wind is doing its hardest to mess with me because right now it is 24 degrees, even though it's sunny. So even though there's sunlight, it is still 24 degrees. So basically what we're doing is we have this brake master cylinder. I have a crow's foot wrench right here, and I have been spraying it with PV Blaster for the last 3 days. As you can see, I've cracked one of the lines loose. It's good that there's still fluid in it. I got to get that rear line, and then I have to go inside the cab and get the 2 mounting nuts, and it should just come out. Now, while I'm down here, I'm basically going to replace all these rubber lines because these things are fucked. I mean, just looking at these lines is like, just looking at them and they'll break. And I've already, basically every line that I touched that was rubber or plastic at some point has broken. That includes right here, which I literally just broke. And this one, which I mean, look, that's not even, that's panini, or whatever it's called, Paganini pasta. It's nothing. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Probably kind of hard to see, but this is your brake pedal. See if I can zoom out a little bit. Yeah, that's your brake pedal. And right behind the brake pedal is the brake master cylinder bolts. Not exactly the most convenient thing to get to. We got one turning very happily and freely, and the other one is kind of just below it down there. So I need to get those 2 bolts off. I already have the 2 lines off the master cylinder. And then I can cut the 2 completely dry rotted hoses, and hopefully that will release the master cylinder. After inspecting each of the wheel cylinders, I have determined that there is only 1 bleeder screw left. Somebody has snapped off 3 of the 4 bleeder screws in the little cylinders, little wheel cylinders, so I'm going to have to go buy a complete set of wheel cylinders for this car. And if I'm going to do that, I might as well buy all the brake lines too. So this project is basically just escalating. I don't think there's anything on this car that isn't broken. Okay, I got the master cylinder out. That in and of itself was a bit of a chore. It's up in there. This car is kind of just like, there's no way that it was last on the road in 2006 or 7. There's just no way.
No way.
It's got to be at least 10 years before that. But anyway, everything I touch turns to dust. So it needs a master cylinder, this is for sure. I have the new one, it looks identical to this, so we're all good. I will change over the brake light switches. But just looking at, just looking at the brakes as a whole, it's gonna need all the brake lines, it's going to need all the brake cylinders. I should probably fix the drums on all 4 corners, because if I'm already taking the cylinders out, the wheel cylinders, why wouldn't I, clean up the drums? This thing's gonna need a complete braking system. There's no part of this braking system that is usable. So that's just set me back probably at least a few weeks and a couple $100 more. And then, on top of that, after going through all the fuel lines and, checking after I took the fuel tank out and ordered a new one, I noticed this thingamajig. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if I can get you up in there to explain what I'm talking about. Up in here, see that white thing? There's a big white bar. There's a bunch of vacuum lines that come out of it. Those are not vacuum lines. Those are fuel lines. Volkswagen, in some kind of, infinite Nazi wisdom, has decided to vent the fuel vapors into this brittle plastic piece here, which all the lines have basically snapped off of. And that's basically active fuel under your dashboard. So I'm going to have to find one of those. I forget the name of it. It's like a fuel expansion chamber reservoir, something like that. So I'm gonna have to go find one of those, because it's just turned to dust. Okay, I've been working diligently on changing a few things here. There's a bunch of tools all over the floor and a bunch of crap all over the hood of my car. I put the new fuel pump in place, so we do have the new fuel pump in. All of the fuel lines to the pump have been changed. I did put an inline filter. This inline filter is not directly over the motor, it's right here. So if it does decide to crack or leak, it's going to go down into the valley and out the bottom of the engine. I would prefer to move this at some point, and I definitely will. This is not its permanent house. This is just, you know, for testing at this point. All the vacuum lines up here have been changed. The cowl, this goes to basically like an emissions canister. Like I step on everything in my near vicinity, like the Jolly Green Giant. So this goes to this charcoal canister, which I've changed both of the lines to. This is the one that goes to the back of the fan shroud, and this one goes to something. Isn't that right, Fathead? I like that word, something. I just put it back where it came from originally. I do have a couple of schematics that I've been following. So now that we have all the vacuum lines and fuel lines mostly sorted out in the engine bay, or the trunk, I guess in this case, I don't know how you would refer to this since it's backwards. I am gonna have to go over to the hood or the trunk and change the fuel lines there. I've already weaseled them out at the bottom. I'm pretty sure I already mentioned this in the previous part of the video, but I've had to reorder the entire brake kit for this car, wheel cylinders, hoses, everything, because I tried to go bleed the brakes and found out that we have one oh my god, I did it again, brake bleeder. I cannot believe I did that shit again. This is like the third time I've done that. Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, we have to go order a whole set of brake bleeders and those little cylinders and lines and just everything. You know, I kind of figured as much. Another thing is that the generator is cooked. I tried to take this bolt off here. Yeah, that's not gonna do anything. This thing got hot. Hot. At some point. And it is dead. So, I'm gonna change the wiring that goes into the cabin into the regulator. I'm also just gonna go ahead and change the regulator because if it got this hot, there's a solid chance the regulator's probably no good. And it's only like 90 bucks, so why would I not change this crusty old barnacle? I mean, look at that. That is not, yeah. So when you see those videos on YouTube of people just like pouring gas down the carb and driving it 1,000 miles home, you might want to start questioning some of those videos. I'm sure it's possible, but not without some modification, shall we say. So let's get to doing some more work. Okay, we're going to be kind of jumping around all over the place because there's only so many things I can fix in one part of the car until I get some more parts. So for now, we're going to change the oil, which I'm sure is long overdue. We have some 20 weight 50 classic and racing engine oil from Valvoline. That's the appropriate oil that you're going to want for something like this application. I did clean off the little area where the strainer is. As you can see, it's much shinier than the rest of the car. And we're going to drain the oil now and see. Oh wow, that's ew. Boy, look how dark that is.
Seem to get blacker and darker and blacker and then more darker. It's the opposite of what Michael Jackson got.
So we're gonna wait for this to drain out, and we're gonna put 3 quarts of the good stuff in it. We're also gonna change the strainer and the filter because Volkswagens don't have an oil filter. They have like a strainer that goes up inside of here. Okay, I took the bolts out for the strainer. We're gonna take this out. I'm sure it's gonna be disgusting. Huh. Well, it's disgusting, but I expected a lot worse. So that's good. You can kind of see up inside there a little bit. Looks pretty clean. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this tray out now and take a look at the strainer. All right, well that plug is a little uglier. You can see I put some oil down in the cylinders. That's why we have that going on there. So let's change this one now. Well, there's all the spark plugs taken out, and I put the new ones in and threaded the wires all to where they go. Next, I'm going to change this cap and rotor. See, I just have them lightly in place where they're supposed to go for now. But yeah, we are moving along. There's where I spilled some of the oil, changing the oil. I'm going to have to get new tubes that go to this blower housing or whatever you want to call that. It's like a cooling housing. The tin, as they've referred to it as. And then after that, I'm going to have to take this generator out. Sounds fun, huh? Not really. It's kind of a pain in the butt because you only have so much space to get back here and remove the nut on the opposite side of the generator that attaches to the fan. So let's just fiddle with a few other things first. Okay, there's your plugs, cap, and rotor changed. You can see all shiny new pieces in there. The old ones weren't that bad, so I'm going to save them, but, you know, new is probably better than 20 plus years old. You can see this old rotor has a crack in it, kind of at the front there, and it's just been bleached. So, probably better that we changed that anyway. Next, I'm going to put the new coil in place. I got to take these two 10s out and then make sure it's all wired to where it's supposed to go. Alrighty, finally some parts have come in, and I'm getting over a week and a half virus, so my voice is going to be a little different. The gas tank is in, the little sending unit has been hooked up, it's bolted in currently. I am right now doing the brake lines that go all the way down there, because I have a complete brake line kit for this car, because I am not going to trust these brake lines. You can see these crusty things. You cannot even blow through them. If I try, yeah, nothing. Can't even blow through them. So we're doing that one. That side is complete. I've just started curving the new lines into the new master cylinders, or whatever you want to call them, the little brake cylinder shoe thingies. I still have to take this off and put a new brake cylinder in there, but the new ones are coming along pretty well. I need to clear this line and see if it's empty or not, because this is quite a big line. If not, I will redo it, and if it is clear and there's nothing in there, then I'll just reconnect it. So yeah, we are on our way. So now that I got the new brake lines in, you can see that we have the new master cylinder there in place with the brake light switches. Those two hoses are for the reservoir. This is how the reservoir puts fluid into the master cylinder. And then you have your two, this is your front, I'm assuming, and that's your rear brake line. We also have a version of a proportioning valve somewhere up here. I don't know if you can find it, but yeah, right there. That's like a version of a proportioning valve, and I've changed the lines going to that as well. So that takes care of a good portion of the front end of the brakes. Now that I have all the new front brake hoses routed, I would like to change this old reservoir, because look how crunchy it is. Surprisingly, it was still very supple. Like, the actual lines themselves are actually still okay, but I'm changing them anyway. Kind of strange, the decision to, like, gravity feed, basically, the brake fluid into the master cylinder. But that's the way it is, I guess. This is the new one that I went ahead and got. Very simple, very easy to install. It just installs right there. And then you hook it up to those lines, and that's about it. We have some hydraulic hose line and some hose clamps that we're going to be using to attach it, just because I want a real nice tight seal. And then we'll be that much closer to having the brakes braking, I suppose, again. I still have to go to the rear, change those lines, and then I have to change the wheel cylinders in every single wheel. So it is going to be quite the project. Well, there's the new reservoir. I have to screw it in place, but it's all good. New lines. I'm sure the clamps are a bit overkill, but I'm doing it anyway. Those lines go all the way underneath the gas tank and to the master cylinder to provide brake fluid to the master cylinder. It's kind of an odd setup. I'm sure somebody's going to comment, why is there a loaded 38 special on top of the gas tank, Jimmy? Well, this is the state of Texas, and as I was out here working on my car, I always have it with me, either in my pocket, in my belt, somewhere in my toolbox. It's always with me somewhere. And this guy, who I've never seen before, comes through this alleyway, breaks the window on the side of this trailer, and tries to scurry in. When he's unable to do that, he goes over to that building, breaks that window, and tries to scurry in. This is in broad daylight, folks. This isn't 9 p.m. This is in the middle of the day. So I went over there and asked him what he was doing. He pretended like he lived here and was with management, and if you live here, why are you breaking windows? So we had to politely ask him to leave, and so he did. And that's why that's sitting there, because sometimes people need to be a little more, what's the word for it, a little more tactful, and they need to be careful when they walk around. Anyway, we have a lot of mess going on here. This has been a long day for me. I'm still sick, still not feeling 100%, but we've got the fuel tank in. The new fuel lines are plumbed in the front. Got the new brake reservoir in. All the brake lines have been plumbed at this point, except for the rears. And I might do a little bit on the rear. I might try to take off one of the shoes and see what's going on back there, but we'll see how that goes. All right, I have gotten one of the drums off pretty easily, and yeah, that's gonna need a cleanup. The brake shoes look fantastic. I am not gonna change those. They're not rust jacked, they're not low, they're nothing really. Looks pretty good. I did take the spring off just so I could get to the this cylinder here. but it's looking pretty good. Even the cylinder does not show any obvious signs of leakage. It's just that some dumbass has broken the bolt off that allows me to bleed the brakes. Hey, I said it right that time. So yeah, we are going to have to do a little bit of a cleanup, put new grease on this, obviously. Look what I've done to it. And put a new wheel cylinder in it, so let's go. So now we're over here working on the passenger side drum and brake shoe assembly. And as you can see, that thing spins way, way, way too easy. There's no friction, no resistance, and it makes quite a noise. So the plan is to pull the bearing out, repack the bearing, check the shoes, put a new wheel cylinder in, adjust it, etc. If you look at the driver's side one, which we've just finished, there's a little bit of resistance. So this one has been repacked. As you can see, it's been repacked. It's got new bearing grease all in here, both front and rear bearings. I adjusted the shoes, new wheel cylinder. See that? It spins with resistance, as it should. That way, when you apply the brakes, these shoes open and stop. Because that one over there, even if you apply the brakes, isn't gonna do anything. So let's get to working on that one. All right, we are inside of the hub. The bearing was like seized onto the spindle here. I had to gently walk it off, and it is quite crunchy, so we're gonna have to clean that up and re-grease it. The master cylinder looks fine. It was not leaking. Probably still completely functional, but again, broken off bleeder, so we're gonna go ahead and just change the master cylinder. We're gonna pull off the shoes. The shoes have plenty of meat left. I'm not worried in the slightest about that, but let's clean it up before I do any of that. So, just in general, not the prettiest cylinder, and that's why we're changing it. That looks a little bit better. I have all of the little bearing bits all slightly cleaned up over here. We're going to re-grease all of the bearings and stick the hub back on. I've adjusted it just slightly. That should be enough to maintain friction. So let's put it all back together. All right, passenger side wheel done. This one is a little freer spinning, but still has friction. We can adjust that later on if we have to. We're gonna move to the back driver's side now. I've already got the hub off. This one is just as spider filled as the rest. This cylinder looks like it was probably leaking. This one is splined. I forgot that the rears are splined, so I have taken out the bearing and everything else. We're gonna grease all this up, clean it up, and replace this wheel cylinder as well. I also took the emergency brake off, so it does spin, as you can see. All right, we got the new wheel cylinder in place. I did have to remove the exhaust tubing here to get to this brake line, which was right there. And this is clean. I sprayed through it with brake clean and it's not clogged. This is 100% clogged / collapsed. You see that? Unfortunately, this is unusable, which I planned for. I already have new ones. So I gotta take the other one off as well now. And I'm gonna put this back together, but I have to reorder those lines. So let me go do so. I'm getting progressively sicker. It's been about 2 weeks. I've never had this happen before, so I think something might be wrong. But we're gonna keep working away on this. Alrighty, well, it's been a couple of weeks since I last worked on the Beetle. I was deathly sick for 2 weeks. I'm still not 100%. And then I had a bit of a family problem come up, which I may or may not discuss in this video, but I had to go to San Antonio, drive all the way over there to attend a funeral, so that's no good. But we're back on the Beetle, and that is good. I like working on the Beetle. So let's update you on what's been going on. We got new brake lines. All right, rubber, metal, everything. Every brake line. The new master cylinder is in place up in there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there it is. We've got new rear brakes going on. See that? I decided to reuse the rear lines, the metal lines, because they were nice and clear, but we did change all of the rubber lines up in there. We also changed the fuel lines. I don't know if you can see, but we've got new fuel lines over there. I did start the process of bleeding the brakes, and you can see there's a little bit of dribble on the ground. And just from the little bit that I've done, and yes, there is a steering wheel and steering column in the vehicle. Just from the little bit that I've done, we now have brakes. So we have a functioning clutch, functioning brakes. Really the next thing to do is to get it to start. So I wanted to wait until I had the steering wheel to get it to start, because if it starts and I can't really move it, that's not very helpful. I did replace basically the entire steering column assembly, the wiper switch, the ignition, the blinker lights. I'm not a big fan of the blinker light switch. I don't know if you can see it in there, but it is what it is. This steering wheel has a couple of discrepancies, but you try finding a 1972 Volkswagen Super Beetle steering wheel in any condition, let alone bad condition. This in itself was like 140 bucks, including this. So at least I found it. So we are on our way to making the Beetle drive again. You know, Herbie rides again. I'm not naming this car Herbie, that is too cliche. I do have to go get the car registered because it's a hair out of date. So that'll be the next thing that I do, is go get the car registered, because surprise, Texas no longer does inspections on vehicles over 25 years old. You just register the car. They don't even look at it. They don't even make sure that the car still exists. They just want you to have the title and insurance. That's it. So not sure how I feel about that 100% being a state inspector, but it is what it is. Less work for me. But yeah, look at that. Brakes. Never thought I'd see that. You can kind of hear them actually working away back there. So they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Did change, I changed all 4 wheel cylinders. That was a must. Once I ended up taking off the rubber lines, all of them were expanded shut. So those had to be changed. I guess now the next thing that I have to work on, besides, some of this nightmare, is to replace the generator so the vehicle will charge, and I have to change the carburetor, because the Pick 3 carburetor that was on there, I don't know what's in it. I'm not interested in cleaning it. I will keep it and clean it later on and rebuild it, but for now we're just going to put one of the ones from J-Bugs on there. So let's do it. I had to bust out the old shop vac and take the fan out of the housing, because look at all that stuff that was down in there. I just had to scrape all of that out. And there's still stuff down in there that's not exactly easy to get to. There's like little chunks of goo. Also, the fan was hitting right here, so I did have to do a very slight adjustment on the fan housing, and I think I finally got it. So let's try to put this back together for like the 50th time. Okay, so I've had to take this big old assembly out of the tin, because something is hitting. And at first I thought it was the shroud, not the one that Jesus was wrapped in, the one that the fan is wrapped in. and something's definitely hitting. You hear that? And you can see there's a gap. Mind the gap. Come over here, and it's touching. I don't know if you can see that. It's touching. So the fan is bent ever so slightly. We're gonna have to adjust this, and if not, we're gonna have to get a new fan. I would rather not get a new fan. I like the original one, and I want it to stay that way. So what we're gonna do is take a screwdriver and stick it in there and jimmy jammy it around, Jimmy Jim Jims, jimmy it around. and hopefully that will mind this gap. No more noise. And the gap is substantially better. Okay, the generator is back in. I did paint the backing plate. So now there's no more noise. No more fan shroud noise. Before it was like clanging or banging against the shroud. I did tighten the clamp. So I guess the next thing I'm gonna do is put the belt and the pulley back on. And then I have to get to this carburetor. Another thing that I have to do today, you can see that I have new taillights with new bulbs, and these are the wrong ones, so I'm sending those back. Okay, so this suspension needs work. Yeah, I might have accidentally broken it. So that's something I have to work on today as well when I get the time. I know I'm probably jumping around like mad in this video, and there's very little cohesive storyline. But now I'm changing the front struts. I've already changed the one on the other side. It was easy, if that's what you'd like to call it. Now I'm working on this one. Yeah, no, I don't think those are good no more. Ooh. Yeah, that was good. I like that. That was sexy. So let's change these. I gotta get some kind of grip on this and twist this little thingamajig off. Okay, front struts have been strutulated. Rear struts being removified as we speak. These might be okay, I don't know. Yeah, they seem absolutely fine, but we changing these anyway. I don't trust them. I don't trust you. I don't know what these are. I keep seeing these wires, and I've tried to trace them. I thought they were for the reverse lights. I don't know. I just tuck those out of the way and forget about them. Everything seems to work except the running lights. I've literally gotten all the lights on the rear working except those damn running lights. And they're the same bulb, mind you. It's the brake and the running light. So I need to figure out what's going on with that. So now I'm diving into the electrical system to see why the headlights, blinker lights, basically all the lights do not work. We have a creature here. I don't know whose name this is. I'm gonna call him Mr. Sunshine because he is very friendly and is just a ray of sunshine, really. Aren't you? I'm pretty sure you're a boy. I don't really want to check, but we'll find out. Anyway, don't be scared of just a box. Anyway, I changed this headlight switch. So now the headlight switch actually works. Isn't that right, little sunshine? And, yeah. So now I'm changing the, the hazard indicator switch. I bought both of them along with the headlight relay and all the other relays. Just because I had absolutely no headlights before. Literally nothing at all whatsoever. So now when I pull this headlight switch on, and I have to do this with the keys in the ignition. Where did you put my keys, little Spingle? What'd you do with my keys? Goodness gracious, am I sitting on them like an idiot? Yes, I am. And I blamed you for the whole thing. Anywho. So now, when I turn the blinker lights on after replacing this headlight switch, you hear that? Let me turn on the headlights as well. So, I did change both of the bulbs in front. Well, more than both of the bulbs, all of the bulbs. We have flashamification, sunshinification, and headlightulation. We got it all. Look at that. Headlights, turn signals. I believe even the rears work. I know that the rear brake lights work because I just checked it out. Yeah, look, we've got blinker light action back here. This brake light works. I've already tested it. I think this is supposed to be a running light, and this is the one thing that I'm not getting. I think it has something to do with these abysmal wiring connections that don't seem to do much of anything. So, hey, don't scuff the paint. That's a fine automobile, and I don't need you scuffing the paint with your fucking balls or whatever you have. Let's see if we can get a shot of those balls. Yep, definite balls. I knew it. Anywho. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with this. I don't know if this... I know this is the brake light. Let's see if I can zoom out here. No, that's as far as it goes. Okay. Brake light, blinker light. Don't know what this is. I'm assuming this is a... Oh no, this must be a reverse light. You know what? I think I might just be stupid. So if this is a dual filament bulb, that must mean that this is also the running light? I don't know. I'm gonna have to take apart that other light to find out. Because I believe with the headlights on, these should be on. Because the headlights come on, but this does not come on. So you can't just be driving around without rear running lights, I don't think. That sounds mildly unsafe. So let me go if I can go and delve further into this. So here is the update on the electrical. We have the backlight working. It's kind of hard to see because it's daylight. Both generator light and oil light working. The radio is obviously powered on. We have the four-way flashers working. Really nasty day outside today. The license plate light is working. Both rear running lights and directionals are working. The blinkers work and the hazards work. And when we come over here, we have the same thing. These sort of do that. They intermittently flash, which I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like that, but it's fine. It's probably this one. This one seems to have a poor ground. And again, we have headlights. So all of the electrical is working, basically. So now it is time to move on to a couple of other things. Okay, we got that problem sorted out. Bad ground on that side was causing it to flip-flop. Still work, but flip-flop. That's a lot better. Someone sent me this nice little sticker, so I put that on there. It's starting to look more like a car every single day. Look at the weather. I wish I could show you how just like disgusting it is. This is like some Grand Theft Auto San Andreas sandstorm shit.
Oh shit.
Just awful.
Here we go again.
It makes everything kind of like orange or red. But anyway, the Beetle is really coming together, as you can see. I'm hoping within the next week or so to have it started and running. What I need to do is the electrical on this, because I finished the lights and all of that, but the electrical to the generator is kind of messed up. So that's my last little bit here. So I guess we'll catch you in a couple of minutes when I'm doing some more work. Here is the old radio and the old speaker. Yeah, there's no way that was going to produce any kind of noise whatsoever except screaming, crunching sounds. I have mounted the new radio. It's not fully mounted, it's just in place so I can kind of see what it's going to look like. And I did take out the old speaker. The wiring to this is a bit of a basket case, but I'll figure it out. Inside the car, where the radio sits and where the fat cat sits, isn't that right, fathead? It's starting to take shape and look somewhat like a car again. We got a steering wheel in place, the radio's in there. I am not going to cut, see that? I am not going to cut that hole. Even though the radio doesn't fit through it, I will not cut the dash in any way, shape, or form, so I'm gonna stick the radio in from the back. And you can see it'll look just fine, it'll work. A little bit recessed, but I refuse to cut the dashboard, so that's the way it's gonna work. Another thing I have to install is this vapor trap under the windshield cowling, so that's the next thing I'm gonna get to. Hi, Mr. Fathead, sleeper of my seats. All right, I have spent quite the morning on this little Beetle. The Beetle is now back on all four wheels like it should be. I bled the brakes this morning, which was not particularly fun. It did not want to bleed. I don't know why. I have no idea why. Maybe it's because of a proportioning valve in back. I don't know. But basically, it just wouldn't. It took me like 3 hours to bleed the brakes, and that's with a helper, okay? Another thing I noticed is after I put all the wheels on, I don't know if you can see this, but the hubcap sticks out almost about as far, if not farther, than the edge of the rim in the front. And in the rear, it is sunken in. See how sunken in that hubcap is? And it does this on both sides. So if you were to look, right? If you were to look, you could see on this side here that the wheel sticks out. But on the back, it is sunken in. So I think that's supposed to be like that. I'm not sure if Super Beetles, if this is like part of their quirk, I guess, is that the two rear wheels are like deep dished in and the front are sticking out, or if I have two incorrect rims. I wonder where the mailman just went. Yeah, I don't know if that's supposed to be like that or what, but that's just how it is on this particular Beetle. The next thing I gotta do is try to hook up the rest of the engine components and see if maybe sometime we can get some kind of firing going on today. I sure hope so. Now we're into the all-important phase of mechanically ding-donging everything in the engine bay. I do have the generator fully hooked up. I did all new wiring to the generator, so that way there wasn't any kind of flammability, you know. Those wires, God knows how old. I did it all the way back. I actually pulled it through the firewall and into the regulator. New coil, the carburetor is on. Here's your electronic choke hooked up right there. There was some things that had to be deleted for this new carburetor to work. So the dash pot, I believe that's what this is called, has been deleted. And I have no idea what this thingamajig in front is, but it does not fit on the new one. It does have the port right here. As you can see, there is a port. But the linkage in this, there's like a crazy linkage. And this linkage hooks up to a secondary linkage on the throttle shaft, and this does not have that. And so because it doesn't have it, I'm gonna leave it off. If anyone in the comments knows what that is, because, you know, again, I'm not 100% on this, and says that it's okay to leave it out. I know you can leave the dash pot out. All this little thing does is soften. It's like a little hydraulic damper. The damper is when you snap your foot off the accelerator for a smoother experience. I don't care about that. The vacuum advanced distributor, once I install that, will take care of most of that. But I don't know what this thingamajig here does. I'm literally calling it a thingamajig because I don't know what it is. Some form of vacuum device, but for now it's going to be left out. I need to clean up the points, put the distributor cap back on, put all the heat riser shields and all that back together, and then put some gas in it, and, well, we're going to see what she's going to do. All right, we're going to sand the points a little bit. It's kind of hard to see down in there, but yeah, they're definitely a little corroded. So we're gonna do a little bit more of that, maybe give it the Mordsky flick, as Puddin would refer to it. If you haven't seen the YouTube channel, Puddin's Fab Shop, which I'm sure you have to check it out. Fantastic creator, really all around great human being. So we're gonna sand those points, put everything back together, and I need to go to the big old Wally World to get a gas jug and gas, because I don't own a gas jug, because I own Toyotas, and we don't really have that problem. So I did end up taking out the points just to take a look at them. These are the original. These are Bosch points. And yeah, they're kind of melty. They've had their time. I think it's better that we replace them. These are like from some company. They're definitely not Bosch. And I've heard things about not using non-Bosch versions of this, but the car is just going to start for now. And these are in much better shape. I like the Beetlejuice inspired tail that these have on it. So we'll use these for now. Well, that is the business end of this bug sorted out. What do you think? All the heat risers are in the right place. My shadow is casting on everything. All of the heat tubing, all of the shield tubing, all of the vacuum lines. Literally everything goes where it is supposed to go, minus what I have deleted off of the carburetor. So it is just about ready to start. Or even legal. Check it out. Nice. What do you think about that? all you peace-loving hippies. I'm sure that's gonna shuffle up a few of those deadheads. I did that on purpose, obviously. And I also have a nice peace, love, and understanding. The yin and the yang. Or maybe the yin and the yang? I don't know. Hopefully my plates come in soon. That's what the state gave me to legally drive it around for now. So I guess that's going to do it for this episode. In the next one, we're going to see if she starts and if she moves underneath her own power. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye. Haha, gotcha. I'm just kidding. You didn't think I'd leave you hanging, did you? You didn't think I'd pull the old, in part 3, you can keep watching and be forced to watch the next part. No, I'm not going to do that to you. I absolutely hate when YouTubers do that shit. That way, if you don't want to watch the next one, you don't gotta. So anyway, I did put in these new sun visors with clips. That way I can at least shield my eyeballs from the sun when I'm driving this death trap. I changed all of the light bulbs in the dash. Put the stereo, obviously, changed all of the knobs, most of the electrical ignition switch. So now when you put this on, and also notice the fuel gauge works. Ready? Look at that. I even got the fuel gauge working. And when you put on the blinker lights, check it out. Bulb action. We even have a brake light bulb, which is worthless because what do I need that for? Radio works. Not very well, but it works. This is probably the worst radio I've ever purchased, in my opinion, but it works when it wants to. Again, hazard switch, now functional. And let me show you how easy it is, for now, to start the vehicle. So my foot is not on the accelerator. I'm not going to get it at any prime. Ready? That's it. It's running. The generator light, if you rev it up, does go out permanently. I think it's a little bit of slack in the belt, but I'm going to leave it that way. I'm going to show you how the vehicle runs. It runs good. I need to tune the carburetor, but I'm going to need your help for that. So let me go ahead and show you. So it's running. It seems to run okay. No clanking, no noises, nothing like that. The one thing I want to know from all you people out there in Volkswagen land, this thingy right here, when you twist this flathead in, right, when you adjust this idle, is this supposed to be loose like this and just sort of flop around? Because a lot of times when I go to rev it up, this thing will just flop loose. Do I have to adjust that for some reason? So let me know down in the comments. I do read them, even the negative ones. So there you have it. It runs. Let's get those lights on. That way I can pretend it works perfectly. There we go. Take a look at that. She doesn't even smoke, which is impressive. I would have definitely expected it to smoke, but no. It just sits here and it idles. It idles how it wants to. It's a Volkswagen, after all. So yeah, that's probably going to be the end of this part of the video for real. I am not going to take it for a drive today. I've already driven it once, and it is a death trap. I need to do some adjustment on the alignment, and the brakes don't do anything. I mean, stone cold, no brakes. I don't know what's up with that. I tried to bleed them for hours, and yet I still have no brakes. So I need to look into that. It is road legal. I did change this mirror so I can actually see. There's some kitty cats for your viewing pleasure. But yeah, look at that. No more generator light. The fuel gauge works. The headlights work. I mean, you don't really get much luckier than this. Even the horn works. I'm not going to wake my neighbor up, because if I wake my neighbor up, she's going to come out and start screaming some nonsense, and I don't want to hear about that. Remember, it's a trailer park. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. She runs. See how when I rev it up, the idle kind of, does that. What I am going to do just for a little bit is I'm going to put the clutch in here, and I will move us forward. That way you can see that she does move. There you go. She moves. There is a reverse, which is rather irritating from this diagram here, which is down and over.
Come on, cat, get out of the way.
There you go. The brake light comes on to tell you that there's something wrong with the brake system. You know what that something is? I have zero idea. But the brakes work, just not the best. You know, I mean, I shouldn't say there's no brake, there's just nearly no brake. It's literally like the last millimeter that the brake engages. But yeah, I think we're gonna have to engage that so we quit rolling. I think that's gonna do it for this episode. In the next episode, we're gonna be focusing on redoing the whole interior, basically. The whole interior is my pile of shit. I've already stripped the back seat out. I've already done some other stuff. We're gonna get focused on doing a lot of interior work, door panels, new cranks, new plastics, all rubbers, all of these felt liners for the windows, new windshield. Yeah, and then we're gonna focus on paint. That's gonna be the next. So in the next video, a lot's gonna happen. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Bye.